Hi, I'm Myra from Kentucky, and I lived a pretty average life with my ordinary mom and dad who I thought were good, honest people. I was so wrong, but we'll get back to that. I was an only child, so I got all their attention and I got my way most of the time. When I was 12 years old, I begged them to let me go to summer camp because I heard that Ron was going to be there and he'd been my crush since kindergarten. Rumor had it, he liked me too, and this was going to be the camp that would seal the deal forever. Little did I know that my romantic aspirations would land me in a hospital bed surrounded by confused doctors and nurses. This story gets even crazier, so don't go anywhere.
Is she dead?
No, she's just unconscious, but she's breathing. More hives are popping up. Oh my gosh!
I've never seen this before. What do you think it could have been? Poison ivy? A snake bite?
I try to remember what happened right before I passed out. I was walking hand in hand with Ron. We had just explained our feelings to each other after sneaking away from some silly kind of scavenger hunt. There were trees all around us. We looked around to make sure no one was looking, and then he kissed me. It was so amazing. I felt butterflies, stars, bliss, and then I blacked out. My parents arrived while the doctors were trying to figure out what was wrong with me. They tried everything they could, but I wasn't able to go home for another 3 days. When I got home, my parents decided to interrogate me, and I didn't realize it then, but they seemed a bit suspicious. Where were you when you blacked out? Who were you with? What were you doing? I just sat there in silence because obviously I couldn't tell them I was in the forest kissing some boy. Anyway, summer ended and I couldn't wait to go back to school so I could see Ron again. I spent 3 hours choosing my outfit so he could be impressed and ran out the door on Monday morning. As soon as I saw Ron in the hallway, I dragged him into an empty classroom. I missed you so much, Ron. I think we should continue from where we left off. I missed you too, Myra, but I didn't allow him to finish. I pressed my lips onto his and went in for another deep kiss. Then suddenly, the room went black. And yep, you guessed it. I woke up in the hospital again. I was covered in hives, but this time I had a terrible headache and I was throwing up. My mom was already by my side. What were you doing just before this happened? We need to know so we can find out what's causing this reaction. It was only then I realized I was allergic to kissing. But of course I told my mom I ate some bad fish and she left it at that. Throughout middle school, I had to avoid boys. Ron had moved on, but I didn't really care because I had joined my school's cheerleading team and I was too busy cheering to think about boys. A few years later, I started high school and I continued avoiding boys as usual. I joined the cheer squad and I was having a great time. But after cheering during a basketball game one day, I noticed this super hot guy checking me out.
He is totally checking you out, Myra.
My best friend Crystal whispered into my ear.
Why don't you go talk to him?
I don't chase, I attract. If he's interested, he'll come to me. It was almost like he heard me because he walked up to me that minute. Hey girl, let me tie your shoes because I don't want you falling for anyone else. What makes you think I've fallen for you? I don't even know you. Well, why don't we change that, babe? Let's go out later. Send me your address and I'll pick you up. By the way, my name is Tyrone. I'll learn yours later. He walked away before I could reply. Gosh, he was hot. So what do you think I did? Of course I went out with him, and we had a great time. He drove a Ferrari, and after a few weeks of dating, I realized that his family was really wealthy. He bought me all kinds of gifts and treated me like I was a princess. We eventually became a couple, but something was different about him. He felt comfortable with me hanging around his guy friends. Most guys don't like their girlfriends to be around their boys, but he wanted to bring me everywhere. I was totally in love. His friends were always at his house, especially his best friend Marvin, who was a total goofball. But because his house was so big, Tyrone and I would still have a lot of privacy. And well, I guess privacy is what caused our problems because... Come closer, I want to hold you. Okay, Tyrone, but don't try anything, okay? What do you mean? Nothing. We hugged for about 5 minutes, then he looked me in the eyes and lifted my chin towards his mouth. I quickly turned away. I just remembered that my mom asked me to be home by 5. I have to go, sorry. And this was how I dodged Tyrone for months. I just had to escape whenever he tried to kiss me. But the sad thing is that I could see he was becoming less interested in me. We started hanging out less and less, but it hurt me so much because I seriously loved him. I felt like there was nothing I could do because how exactly do you tell your boyfriend you're allergic to kissing? I was feeling down one day and my mom made me her famous chocolate muffins. She made them every month and I always felt better after having them. That day, I decided I wouldn't take it anymore. I would tell him the truth. When I got to his house, Marvin was in the living room with 2 of Tyrone's other friends, and he looked shocked to see me there.
What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
I came to see my boyfriend. Is he in his room?
Yeah, no, I don't think you should go up there.
Why?
Hang out with us instead.
I thought that Marvin was just being his usual silly self, so I ran up to Tyrone's room. The door wasn't closed, so I peeked in and I'll never forget what I saw. My best friend was in the arms of my boyfriend and they were making out. She was doing things to Tyrone I only wished I could do. I wanted to scream. Crystal, you home-wrecking piece of...
Myra, it's not what it looks like.
Crystal picked up her things and ran out of the room. She didn't even try to explain herself, but what Tyrone did next really broke my heart.
She does all the things you don't. I think we need to break up. Let me explore my options.
Tyrone, you're a jerk. But don't worry, you're going to regret this. I left his house angrily, and when I got home, Crystal was there. She tried to explain that she noticed that Tyrone was losing interest in me, and she was only trying to persuade him not to leave. The kiss sort of happened in the middle of all that. I pushed her outside and slammed my door. I definitely didn't need fake friends like her in my life. Anyway, one thing I like about guys is that they're super easy, and I figure that if Tyrone could run around with my best friend, ex-best friend, like that, I'd do the same to him. I started texting Marvin until I got him interested enough to go out with me.
You know I always liked you. I just couldn't say anything because you were in a relationship with my homie. But I think you're really pretty, and you look really nice in those cheerleader outfits.
Wow, thanks, Marvin. We were strolling through a park after a wonderful date. I asked him to come to my house because I knew my parents wouldn't be there. He sat on my couch watching TV while I texted Tyrone telling him I was in tears and I really wanted him to come over so we could talk. I even told him I'd make out with him if he did. I explained that the door was open and I was in the living room so he could just walk in. When he texted back,
I'm on my way.
I could have jumped for joy. I started whispering sweet nothings into Marvin's ears and we were getting pretty cozy. When I heard the door open and footsteps come towards the living room, I put my head close to Marvin's to make it seem like we were kissing. But when I looked up, I saw my dad staring straight into my face.
Myra, what are you doing? Stop that right now. What do you think you're doing making out with boys in my house?
Then to add more trash to the dumpster fire, Tyrone walked in and it was clear that he had heard everything.
You were making out with Marvin? Marvin, how could you? You're supposed to be my best friend.
He burst out into tears, and it was so satisfying that I didn't even care that my dad had walked in on me pretending to make out with a boy. Marvin, we'll talk later.
Get out of my house, both of you. And you, young lady, go to your room.
It's the first time I was actually excited about being punished because I knew I accomplished something remarkable. I sabotaged Tyrone's greatest friendship, and I didn't regret a thing. I scrolled through my phone and deleted his number along with Marvin's and Crystal's. Now I just had to deal with my parents who eventually burst into my room to give me what I thought would have been a lecture.
Good job, sweetheart.
I'm proud of you, and it seems you've learned your lesson. What are you talking about, Mom?
Well, I know you didn't kiss either of those guys. You're a good girl.
Okay, but how do you know that, and why does it even matter? I'm 16.
We have something to tell you, honey.
You know these chocolate muffins I always make once every few months? The ones you love? Yeah? Well, they've got a substance in them which makes you react if your mouth comes into contact with anyone else's saliva. Basically, we made you allergic to kissing. What? That's insane! But why?
So you wouldn't kiss anyone. We want you to remain pure and innocent because we've already promised you to someone. Basically, your marriage has already been arranged, but his parents are very traditional, if you understand what I mean. The purer you are, the more money we can get for you. They've promised us a handsome sum.
You're joking, right? No. You'll meet him when you turn 18. We've arranged everything. But what if I don't want to?
Then we will stop taking care of you. We won't pay for college, we won't support you financially, and we'll simply disown you. We're your parents, so we make the rules.
I couldn't understand what was going on. I ran out of my room and onto the street with tears in my eyes. How could they do this to me and think it was okay? I was so blinded by my tears that I didn't see a car heading straight towards me. I felt unimaginable pain surging through my body, and then I blacked out. When I woke up, I knew I was in a hospital, but something was different about this room. I was freezing, and when I opened my eyes, I saw nothing but darkness. I tried to lift my arm, and it was then I realized I was in a body bag. I started screaming, but stopped to think of what this could mean for me. If my family thought I was dead, this could mean I could start over and escape from it all. So that's exactly what I did. I snuck out of the hospital and ran as far as my aching legs could take me. I'm still trying to figure out my life now, but I'm free.